right, the Dolphins are moving on. The Dolphins are going to spend the next 3 months researching head coaches. What is the right pick for this franchise? What does this team need?
I have covered a lot of first-time head coaches, and I can tell you, done with it.
Yeah.
And I said this going back to last season. First-time head coaches, they don't know what they don't know. And that's part of the problem. The Dolphins need somebody who has failed and knows why he fails in order to make the necessary changes and improvements. Now, knowing Steve Ross, he's going to go with a young coach. Mm-hmm. That is just what he's looked for from a GM standpoint. Mike Tannenbaum is probably the only person he's ever recycled. And he had to have his arm twisted on that because he wouldn't let Mike Tannenbaum be in the mix for GM consideration. Then they brought him in as a consultant and they said, hey, see all this stuff that Mike Tannenbaum did? You see, he could probably run your organization pretty well. And he was like, all right, okay. And while that has some validity to it, Steve Ross wants somebody new, young, fresh, energetic. And that, to me, is probably going to be the next Dan Quinn, whoever that is in the league. Dan Quinn, strangely enough, if the Dolphins, let's say, had fired Joe Philbin at the end of 2014, you probably would have had a run at Rex Ryan.
Right.
You probably would have had a run at Dan Quinn. You probably would have had a run at, maybe you could have pursued Harbaugh. Maybe you could have went after Todd Bowles. But here we are in a situation where everybody has a good head coach, and Dolphins are still searching.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh might be different, Rex Ryan might be different, but by the time we get to the end of the year, there's going to be another Dan Quinn. There's going to be another Todd Bowles. Whoever the next hot coordinator, the next Joe Philbin. The next Joe Philbin. They'll be out there, and then the Dolphins will have
We'll just make sure that person is a leader of men.
All right, let's take the next question. At Finn's Diehard. Well, that's the other thing, too, before we get to that question is they might get sick of having a young head coach, depending on how this Dan Campbell thing goes. If this doesn't go well, and they finish 4-12, 5-11, then that might turn Steve Ross into saying, you know what, we probably need someone who's coached before.
You need experience. I still have my eyes on Sean Payton with New Orleans. Things are turning a little bit sour there. He's a Bill Parcells guy. You see how this connection thing works. And Sean Payton could want full power at wherever his next stop is. He's already got the paycheck. Things are going sour in New Orleans with Drew Brees. Sean Payton might be interested in relocating.
All right, well, let's take out Finn's Diehard's question now. Would you take Mike Shanahan as a head coach and Kyle Shanahan as an OC and Jim Schwartz as a DC? Or even just Shanahan as a head or Kyle Shanahan as a head coach?
I don't object to Mike Shanahan as a head coach. I'm not into the nepotism thing. What has Kyle Shanahan done to deserve a head coaching job?
Well, and they weren't great together in Washington.
They weren't great together in Washington. I think a lot of that has to do with RG3, the owner situation. Turned bad. Mike Shanahan's a proven coach. Obviously, things turned sour in Washington. A lot of who did it work out well for in Washington in general? No. Now, I'm not saying that Mike Shanahan should be the coach, but I'm also not saying that Jim Schwartz should be the coach. What did he do in Detroit? Nothing. And they got better when he was removed from the situation. Detroit wasn't a good team under Jim Schwartz.
No.
And what has he done to deserve another head coaching opportunity?
Burned bridges in a lot of different places.
Definitely.
And just because he's coached Ndamukong Suh before and he's got the best out of Ndamukong Suh means that
no,
he's
actually he didn't. Ndamukong Suh didn't have some of his better years. Ndamukong Suh's best year was last year under Jim Caldwell.
Well, there you go. Okay, fair enough. That was coming out of nowhere. Rough Ridge Mel, how are you?
I'm well, sir.
Can you explain the batted ball in the end zone rule for us?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, just give us our challenge then.
Okay, so this challenge comes from James Andretti. He says, the personnel is not finesse. Look at Sue, Pouncey, Jones. The scheme is so maybe Campbell can make this a hard-nosed team.
I agree that there are some players who are dogs that are on the team. And when I say dogs, I mean guys who are bulldogs, have the mentality of they want to bite first. Problem is under Joe Philbin that you spent so much time caging dogs and banishing dogs.
Neutering them.
Yes. Yeah. Now you let the mean pit bull out of the cage. Well, you beat him enough. Is he really going to go out there and bite? And I really wonder about that. I also wonder about management. How much are they pushing their, let's not pretend like they didn't promote Dan Campbell because they can push him around and keep their finger on him and tell him to play who they want to play.
Yeah.
That's a situation. And there's some young players that need to sit down, take a seat, because they're not performing up to the level that they should. And then The other players should have the opportunity to go out there and play. Michael Thomas should be playing. Chris McCain should be playing. A.J. Francis should be playing.
Who should not be playing?
The players, Walt Aikens, I mean, he's clearly struggled. So that's an issue that the Dolphins definitely have to address. Speaking of addressing, I certainly want to address this Ryan Tannehill situation.
Yes, let's talk about that because Tannehill addressed it today, too.
Yes, Tannehill addressed it today. And I'm one of 2 reporters that have reported that Ryan Tannehill has had a beef with the Miami Dolphins defense, primarily from scout team practice on Saturday in London. Ryan Tannehill said some derogatory comments. He initially, when I first reported a story, Ryan Tannehill, they claimed that story didn't exist. This beef didn't exist. Then the beef, okay, it does exist. Then story changed like, well, Ryan didn't say anything derogatory to anybody. Okay, then it changed that, oh, well, Ryan might have said this, which was that he, what did he say he did say?
He said he said that he didn't say anything about the paychecks.
Okay.
But that is not something that he would say.
Okay, and I agree that my thought is that his personality would not say that.
Yeah,
however, I never heard anything about practice squad trophies.
Yeah.
What I heard from 3 different players was that he said to specific individuals that enjoy your practice squad paychecks.
Okay.
So you can say that you didn't say it, but you know what? A lot of things, I've covered the NFL for 8 years. I've been a professional for 15 years. The one thing that you're not going to do is challenge my credibility. There's one time that ever at Sun-Sentinel that I've had a story wrong, and it was because I called a player who was arrested, who was named Dez Bryant, the Dallas Cowboys Dez Bryant, when he was actually the Cleveland Browns Dez Bryant. And that's it. I've never been a muckraker. I've never been somebody who wants to stir things up to create attention and drama. That's not my MO. And so, to me, this isn't a big deal and a big issue.
It's not a big deal either.
It's not a big deal.
Ryan seemed to feel like it was today.
Okay, well, probably because he had some tension related to the fact that he was going to get his head coach fired if he didn't perform well enough.
Right.
And it led him to say things that he shouldn't have said. But here's the one thing. While you might want to cover it up, Dolphins, and you might want to protect Ryan's image because that's important, especially when he's the face and the salesman of the organization, let's not pretend like the defense didn't know what happened.
Well, and to me, in the whole situation, when I first heard the story, the biggest issue, it looks bad on Philbin, is the fact that Philbin took the side of his quarterback rather than saying, you know what, we need these scout players working hard.
The Dolphins organization will defend Ryan Tannehill till the end of time.
Okay.
And I saw it because they did it to Chad Henne.
Yeah.
No matter how he plays, no matter what he does, because he's the face of the franchise, they will defend him till the end of time. And while you might be able to bury the story, and I personally don't care either way. If he said it, I don't care. Certainly that is a knock on his character if he did say it. I would have never, ever thought that those words would have come out of Ryan Tannehill's mouth. But trust me, they did.
Well, you know, talking smack player to player to me is not
absolutely. No, I don't have an issue with it.
But when you are a head coach and you tell your scout team players, I need you to stop working so hard. I need you to stop trying because
that was the biggest issue to me in terms of...
That's the problem. Philbin looks bad.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, they haven't practiced well in quite a while. And then you wonder why they are having the results that they're having on the field.
Yeah, that changed, I think, today. Campbell said he really liked practice, said that there was more hits, said it was a violent practice, said that, you know, there wasn't X's and O's. It was all about just guys being primates out there. That is exactly what he said. And he said that's why they wear the pads, is to go out there and hit. And we got to figure out how to use them again.
That can only last so long, especially when you don't get results.
Well, we'll see what happens. Not this weekend, because thankfully it's a bye. We'll talk more about Dolphins getting ready for the Titans coming up next week on X's and Omar. Thanks for watching.